Let's explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily.
It really feels like the cat with the laser pointer. It's like you've led the cat up to the top of the building, and now you're leading it over the edge.
President Trump is rebalancing trade around the world and making things more fair for the American people.
I think that anytime the deep state can like overcapitalize in whatever situation they have, they're going to.
But the rest of it is a very well organized and well funded color revolution operation of the type they run all over the world again and again and again to destabilize entire society.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily. Another wonderful Monday, joined by the one and only Zak Paine. Looking thrilled on a Monday. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, Brian. Doing great. Excited to see what the week has in store for us.
I am always excited. Every single week, you never know what you're going to get moving into it. So, yeah. We'll get into this week and unpack the weekend worth of news today. I do want to start the show off by saying happy birthday to my beloved mother. Today is her birthday. That's where I was this weekend. I had to cancel my shows on Friday because I had to get up there and see her. Haven't had a birthday with her in a long time, so got to take care of the parents, man. Which is really unfortunate because on Friday, we had planned on having an Arizona election guru on the show. And then over the weekend,
timely.
Yeah, right. Over the weekend, we get news that the FBI raided Maricopa County and seized files from Maricopa County. So it's almost like if you guys were watching Why We Vote, you knew this was coming. But
yes.
Very beautiful thing. President Trump actually just truthed out about that.
Oh, did he?
Just the news article. Great. FBI secretly seizes election records from Arizona's largest county as voting probe expands from just the news. That's all we got is great.
Well, I mean, it is truly. It's about time. And, I love that they did it under the cover of night, a little bit different than what they did in Fulton County. I mean, obviously there was some chatter that perhaps something like that was going to take place. And then it just kind of came and went and there was no follow-up. And now here we're getting this sort of back end inside scoop on the fact that actually they went in there on the account of a grand jury finding that there was a need for them to go in there. Likely as a result of additional evidence they found in Fulton County. Well, look at this corroborating information that says, hey, everything these people in Maricopa County have been saying since the beginning is actually true. It opens the door for so many things. What's next, Brian? Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, California? I don't know, but I'm here for it.
I'm going to go with Michigan. Yehuda Miller's million documents that he seized. I've been kind of keeping tabs on that. Patty Murray, Mick Murray, not Patty Murray, not the crazy senator from, I don't even know what state she's from. But she's been up there working on that and has been kind of updating at Gateway as they go through it. And I think that will probably be the next major investigation that's opened up into all this. I knew Arizona was going to be next. When you watch Tulsi Gabbard's DNI Gabbard's kind of press conference she did the other day, it was an absolute nothing burger, right? There was nothing of substance in that other than, hey, here we are, but the key that I picked up out of that was that she said that they bust all these reporters into a secure location, a secure facility. And when I heard that, I was like, okay. So kind of getting a little bit of the Pit vibe. Remember the Pit back in
absolutely
23, I think that was the first place I met you at.
It was definitely.
but we were getting that. It's definitely the first place where I met John at. But yeah, we were getting that kind of vibe there, and here we are now.
Well,
so we'll see what
I
comes.
mean, the chatter was so loud, and then for it to just be a press conference about passing the Save America Act, I was like, no way. Like this is a head fake, okay? And they've taken all of the reporters into a secret skiff location so that nobody could possibly see what they were doing in Maricopa County. That was the cover, and then the op was taking place in the background. I love it. I love this timeline, and I think you're right. I think I thought Arizona would be next. I think Michigan is the next most logical scenario. Obviously, as I am from Michigan, I was covering a lot of that stuff while it was happening. I was the first person to publicly interview the Dominion whistleblower from the Detroit voting location. Not Christina Karamo, but Christina Karamo was there while we were doing it. Hold on, what is her name? I always forget her name. I don't remember. I can't remember. It's been so long since I thought about it.
What are you talking about?
I am talking about. Hold on. I need to actually look it up in my.
What position was she running for? I most likely
she wasn't running. She was working for Dominion, and she was working in Detroit at the election center. And she came forward with credible stories about what was happening inside.
Melissa.
Yeah.
What's her last name? Crap. I've interviewed her before.
Yeah.
The crazy one, right? We all thought she was nuts when she first came out.
Melissa Carone.
Carone.
I didn't think she was nuts because I mean she had so much. I mean she was definitely she's a unique individual. Okay, and I think that's certainly fair to say. But yes, so I had reached out, I got in touch with Melissa Carone, and she was like, "I'm happy to come on your show, but I've been booked on Hannity." And so that night she's supposed to go on Hannity, and then she calls me back and she's like, "Hannity just ditched me. Yep. So let's go on your show." And there we go. And the rest is history.
Yep. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's the big news this morning. I know elections, it might not be like headline news for most outlets, but here we know that is the foundation of getting to the bottom of the dismantling of the deep state, is taking back our free and fair election. So we'll get into that, I'm sure, on Friday's Why We Vote. We will have our Arizona guest on, so the timing's actually better. So now we can unpack this a little bit more. But before we get into the news, please smash that thumbs up if you have not done so already. And let's jump into our first sponsor for the program, guys. Microplastics aren't somewhere out there anymore. They're here. They're in your kitchen, your tap water, your household dust. And now research is finding them in places no one ever imagined. Human blood, your lungs, even in breast milk. These particles don't wait. They don't ask permission. They build up quietly day after day inside real people. The youngest among us, our children, are being exposed every day, and yet most parents have no idea how much they're invading their kids' bodies. Have you ever considered having your children tested? Plastiproof changes that. It's the world's first at-home saliva test for microplastics. No needles, no clinics, no stress. A simple sample that you collect at home and send to a certified lab located in the United States. And yes, children can take the test too. You get a clear science-based report detailing levels found in the body and how they entered the body from food, air, or from medical. It's your baseline and your starting point to make changes towards a healthier lifestyle, because once you know your exposure, you can finally take action. Plastigon is a simple, gentle homeopathic patch designed to help your body detox from the microplastics. Peel it, stick it, and forget it. It's an easy, intentional step that you can take every day as you work to reduce environmental exposure. Together, Plastic-Proof and Plastigon can help families move from uncertainty to clarity and from worry to action. Badlanders get 20% off with promo code Badlands. Just visit plastigon.com today. Use promo code Badlands to get 20% off. Again, that's Plastigon, PLASTIGONE.com. All right. That is horrifying, by the way, the microplastics. Like,
oh, yeah. They're in everything.
Yeah, the transition over, like, I still remember glass bottles when I was a kid. Like, everything came in glass bottles. Gatorade was in glass bottles, yeah. Coke, everything. Now it's all in plastic, man, and that scares the crap out of me.
Yep.
All right, let's jump into today's news. Again, smash that thumbs up if you have not done so already. We do have some tragic news to start the day off. We do have our 7th U.S. service member that has passed away from injuries during the Iran operation, war, whatever you want to call it. The service member was seriously wounded at the scene of the attack on March 1st in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. 7th member killed in action. They still have not yet announced the name. They'll give 24 hours for next of kin notification. And unfortunately, all 7 have come from that same attack, drone attack in Saudi Arabia, or missile attack. I'm not sure. I think they clarified it was a drone attack.
Okay.
Just tragedy. There's nothing else to say about that. Hopefully it's not that same unit. I think it was the 133rd out of Iowa, because they've been getting absolutely crushed, man. Almost all 6, I think.
I mean, I think that they were all deployed there at the same time. And I mean, if I'm not mistaken, this last death they didn't die at the same time. Like, they were severely injured and then they died at a later point. So just tragic.
Yes, absolutely. So let's get into some of the updates over the weekend from the Iranian special operation war. I don't even know what to call it at this point anymore. Like, Trump called it a war, but if you call it a war, everybody melts down on you and like rages out at you. So who knows? From CNN, Israel strikes Iranian oil shortage sites in next phase of war. According to Israeli sources, the Israeli military said it struck fuel sites in Tehran on Saturday that distribute fuel, quote, to various consumers, including military entities in Iran. This is a significant strike that constitutes an additional step in deepening the damage of the military infrastructure of the Iranian terrorist regime, the IDF said in a statement. BRICS confirmed this, posting this video online. It's been going all around, but we'll play just 20 seconds of this. Where's all the climate change? That's absolutely crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like, people like those oil storage facilities, those things will burn for weeks, man. Like,
yeah.
Nuts.
No putting that genie back in the bottle once it's out.
No. President Trump put out on Truth Social I've seen the meltdown over the weekend, gas prices going up. I saw it myself. You know, we were lingering around $2.80 to $2.90 a gallon down here in South Florida. It's jumped up to about $3.40, $3.50 a gallon.
We're about $3.79 up here.
Yeah. You know, when I was driving up Florida, the turnpike rest stops, it was around $3.49, which usually they're higher price. Diesel's through the roof right now. Diesel's up around $4.50 a gallon down here in Florida. So
up in Michigan, I got a buddy who he's got a diesel, and he's like, you know, it's damn near $5 a gallon, and he's always upset about that.
I would be too, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, the only benefit to diesel is it's a little slower burning, so you get better MPGs. But yeah, still, that's ridiculous, man. President Trump put out on Truth Social, short-term oil prices, which will drop rapidly when the destruction of the Iran nuclear threat is over, is a very small price to pay for the USA, the world, safety, and peace. Only fools would think differently, President DJT. And then we've got a clip here of Chris Wright, who's the energy secretary. It's a bit of a long clip, but this has been one of the most, kind of concerning issues that's come out of, out of the war thus far. I mean, obviously the big concern is we don't want a forever war, right? But one of the other most recent issues in terms of the immediate impacts that we're feeling as Americans is the fuel prices. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's worth it probably to play this whole clip here. It's about 6 minutes of Chris Wright on Maria Bartiromo talking about, with Shannon Bream, talking about the impacts that this is going to have on the U.S. in terms of energy pricing.
Okay, so of course, we were just talking about the Strait of Hormuz there and the impact that has on oil prices worldwide. The average for a gallon of gas here in the U.S. is up over 40 cents since these strikes started. What is the plan?
Yeah, the plan is to get oil and natural gas and fertilizer and all the products from the Gulf flowing through the straits before too long. And I may break a little news here, but one large tanker has already gone through the straits with no issues at all. So as the general just described, we're massively attriting their ability to strike with missiles and drones. And that rate of attrition will increase in the coming days. So we'll be cautious, we'll be careful, but energy will flow soon. It's one of the reasons the president had to move on this war. Iran has just terrorized America, the neighborhood, and energy markets for 47 years.
All right, I want to get your take on something that Politico is reporting. It says Energy Secretary Chris Wright and other advisors focused on energy policy, quote, are getting screamed at to find some good news on bringing down prices. Quote, folks are scrambling for announcements and messaging to counter the narrative of these rising prices. Fact or fiction? What can you tell us on how this is playing inside the White House?
Oh, it's fiction. It's right along the line. I've read about a dozen fiction pieces from Politico and other news things about just stuff totally made up, whole cloth. We've been planning and talking about this, for quite some time. Energy markets are massively well supplied right now. In fact, the run up in prices has nothing to do with any shortage of barrels of oil or natural gas. It's just fear and perception, the unknown, that this could be some long, drawn out crisis, but it won't be. As you heard from the general, progress is going very fast. The world is abundantly supplied with energy, thanks to President Trump's energy dominance agenda. The United States is a net exporter of oil, net exporter of natural gas. We're in contact with our allies. This is a disruption on the way to a much better place to end a 47-year war against America.
So let's talk about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It was depleted quite a bit during President Biden, and President Trump had said that's one of the priorities is to get it refilled. That hasn't happened yet. House Democrat Sean Casten said this to the Financial Times. He says, it is not at all surprising that someone who failed to consider the political dynamics in Iran, Iran's ability to strike our allies and bases in the region, or the regional destabilization that follows the collapse of the Iranian government, would also fail to refill our nation's Strategic Petroleum Reserve prior to the price spikes, which have predictably followed. So what's the plan with respect to the reserve?
Yes, again, Representative Casten, of course, wrong on both of those points, and probably fully aware he's wrong when he says that. That's just so unusual for me to see these sort of knowingly false accusations against this administration while the country's heated in a conflict right now that will make the world better, not just in the Middle East, but for everyone. So we have been refilling the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but we only can do that with monies approved by Congress. In the Working Families Tax Cut Act, there was some monies in it. We have been deploying that during a period of low oil prices to put some oil back into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. But yes, it shouldn't have been depleted for the 2022 midterm elections as the Biden administration did. But again, we've done many other moves that allow the world to remain fully supplied with oil during this relatively brief conflict.
So let me ask you about one of those moves by Treasury will allow India to buy Russian oil products. And there are questions about, listen, the president's put enormous pressure on, both Putin and Zelensky trying to get that conflict ended. So what about this criticism that allowing Russia to now profit again off of its oil, even if it's short term, is going to lessen the pressure on them to get to the table and get this thing done?
Oh, I don't think there's any change in the pressure there or the policy there. Russia's oil remains sanctioned. There's no change in policy towards Russia, but there's just a lot of tankers stacked up. China doesn't treat its discount gas station suppliers very well. They're about to lose the second of 3 of them. So there's a lot of Russian oil that's just hanging out on the water in Asia. And it's in Asia where the refineries are looking for oil. So we just made a pragmatic decision. Instead of waiting at the gas pump for another month or 2 to arrive in China, let's pull that oil into Indian refineries right now, because they supply not just the 1.4 billion Indians, but they export products to the region around there. So it's just a pragmatic decision. It's no change in Russia. It just speeds up some sales that were going to happen anyway.
All right. So can you give folks a timeline on what we started talking about, which are those gas prices at the pump, the thing that every day they go and it's a real check on their own wallet?
And it is, Shannon, that this president came in on an energy dominance agenda driven for one reason, to lower prices for Americans and increase job opportunities and therefore push up wages. So yes, he is keenly focused on gasoline prices. But I think we believe this is a small price to pay to get to a world where energy prices are returned back to where they were. And I'm talking weeks, certainly not months. This is weeks and probably an outside case. And then you'll see this removal of this destabilization from investment and funds and peace in the Middle East. Iran will finally be defanged. And now you can see more investment, more free flow of trade, less ability to threaten energy supplies. And what President Trump is doing is setting up a world for years and decades ahead of lower energy prices, more stability, commerce over conflict.
All right, I definitely get behind the last statement there, commerce over conflict. That was kind of the foundation of the tariff policy there. But it's interesting what he talks about there with Russia in terms of the sanctions, because we've been told this whole time, right? Like Russia, we're sanctioning the oil on Russia. We're saying, but then we're like, yeah, you can sell to the Asian markets. Oh, we're going to open that up. We're going to lift the sanctions where Russia can now distribute, sell oil there. We're going to allow them to sell to India. We're going to give a special license to allow Russia to continue selling. Meanwhile, me and Chris Paul talked about this on Friday's show. What a lot of people don't understand is the only reason China's buying from Iran and was buying from Venezuela is because they're getting a significant discount on that oil because these are sanctioned nations, which, a 20% discount on the price per barrel for a country like China getting their oil from Iran, from Russia, from Venezuela is significant in terms of their ability to produce not low quality, but they are pretty low quality, but cheaper production of goods, through and transport of goods, being able to transport all of their manufactured goods over to the United States to put them on our market. A 20% increase in energy cost severely cripples that. And, again, is this part of the reasoning for the war that isn't really going out there publicly? I don't know. Perhaps I'd love to get your take on that.
There's also constraints. There's also been traditionally constraints on Iran in terms of who they can sell to. So, I mean, they have traditionally been locked in this deal with China because they're essentially blocked from selling it to virtually anybody else in the world. And don't forget, Russia also sells lots of energy to the European Union. So, I mean, there's really no shortage of buyers for any of these things. And with China having a cheap supply of oil and gas cut off, that does put them between a rock and a hard place, because not only is a lot of that capacity that Russia has already, it's set for other places. It puts China into a position where they've got to spend a lot more money on these things. So yeah, in addition to that, I mean, there is also the market that's been cornered in the Straits of Hormuz in terms of insurance that's coming out of London. I mean, those traditional brokers that are going to be, contracting to run the insurance policies on those ships, they've had to drop out. And so now the United States of America has stepped in, and we're going to be insuring those vessels to make sure that they are able to traverse through safely. So yeah, overall, it is a reorganization of all of these different pieces in the Middle East. And once Iran is opened up, once the conflict is ended between Russia and Ukraine, you're going to have markets that are going to be opening up and providing opportunities economically for nations that traditionally have not been there.
Yeah, the fear monger that's gone on over the weekend, on the oil prices. When you hear, oh, they're afraid to travel through the Strait of Hormuz, but why? Why? President Trump obviously did the insurance, put the insurance truth out there, saying we're going to insure these vessels, so that they continue to go, so that they have incentive to continue this process. We've destroyed their Navy. When people look at the map, they don't realize how wide the Strait of Hormuz is, and how, when these vessels are traversing through that, are they going to be attacked? We've had now an Iranian ship, a sanctioned Iranian ship, a Chinese sanctioned ship, all traveling, or a Chinese, flagship, not a Chinese sanctioned ship, supplying to China. Mm-hmm. The U.S. Navy did nothing about that. we chased a Venezuelan sanctioned ship from Venezuela all the way to the Indian Ocean, allegedly, right? But we're not stopping the ones coming out of the Strait of Hormuz with 3 carrier fleets there, 3 strike groups there. It doesn't make much sense. But
well,
again,
I mean, as far as I'm aware, we're not trying to stop any of the oil that's flowing through there. We're trying to make sure that it continues to flow through there. The danger that I've heard is that they were worried about Iranian attacks on those vessels because Iran had publicly stated that the Straits of Hormuz were closed, which essentially is cutting off a major artery for the delivery of these products. And countries, shipping companies were worried that if they came through, they were going to get bombed or they're going to get a drone attack. And then, of course, they're going to be dumping, I don't know how many billions of dollars of oil, or perhaps, I mean, if a natural gas vessel gets blown up, I mean, can you imagine how, like what that would do? I mean, that would do a lot more than just taking out that one ship. I mean, that would be a concussive blast, take out a lot of things in the region.
Yeah, but there's no evidence that this has even been like an idea in the IRGC's mind, right? I mean, obviously they've struck some oil fields, allegedly. They've struck some oil fields and everything else, but we haven't seen anything going through the straits. But again,
I think ultimately, anytime there is a situation like this, Brian, the companies that are selling the oil and gas, they take advantage of it. That's why you see the prices raised, because there's no shortage of oil. Okay. I mean, there's plenty of oil, there's plenty of gas, there's plenty of products along these lines. But anytime you have a disruption like this, they can restrict the market artificially. That allows them to raise the prices. It creates anxiety among people out here in the world. And then they can just suck as much money up as they possibly can. I mean, like, it's a grift.
Yes. And like you were saying, I mean, reserves in these countries are built up that it would take months and months before there was any real shortages. Now, again, you'll see the price increase because they can manipulate the price at will, and they can use things like this, like, manufactured crises to justify raising the prices like that. And so, I'm with you on that. This is something we talked about on Friday as well. And President Trump, by putting that insurance out there, is trying to thwart that. He's trying to stop that from happening, and or at least kill the optics that this is why it's happening. And I mean, hopefully, again, going back to what Chris Wright said, hopefully this is a very short-term thing, and we resume normalcy. I tried to put those 2 words together. We resume normalcy here very shortly. Let's jump into this article here from the AP, which unpacks quite a few things about the war over there. So we'll go one by one. Israel renews assault on Lebanon after Netanyahu promises, quote, many surprises in the next phase of war. Israel renewed the assault on southern Lebanon, including targeting commanders of the Lebanese branch of the Iran's Revolutionary Guard Quds Force. The Israeli military said in a statement that it would, quote, not allow Iranian terrorist elements to establish themselves in Lebanese territory. Elsewhere,
wait. Didn't the Lebanese government come out several times in the last week and say that IRGC is not allowed in their country? Like, we don't want you here. We want nothing to do with you. You guys are not welcome. I mean, I thought they were expelled. So this is something that me and Ghost talked about probably a year ago, maybe even longer than that. Yeah, it had to be longer than that because it was during the quote unquote Biden administration when we talked about this. But the United States has been funding the Lebanese army, military, and police for years. Oh, wow.
So here I put a thread out on this. And it actually was, it was October 23rd of 2023. So 3 years ago, Ghost and I went through this, and I put this thread out. The U.S. is funding the Lebanese armed forces and the internal security forces. One of the ISF's biggest tasks is targeting an Israeli spy network in Lebanon. So we were funding, the United States was funding the Lebanese internal security forces, whose main job was to target Israeli spy networks inside of Lebanon.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't it interesting? Biden, it says here, this is from Tablet, the Biden administration allocated $72 million to pay the salaries of both the LAF, Lebanese Armed Forces, and the ISF. But you jump down here and it says let's see. I had something where, let me see if I could find it real quick. Here it is. The U.S. Embassy in Beirut reported that the LAF-ISF Livelihood Support Program provided $72 million. These payments will provide every soldier and police officer eligible to receive assistance under U.S. law with $100 per month. And so you think, you're like, well, $100 per month, that's not a whole lot of money. Well, read that right there. Read that top line.
On average, a soldier used to earn about $800 a month before the crisis, but the value of the Lebanese currency, the pound, has since crashed, and salaries are now worth just about $100. So it's a doubling.
So the United States is literally paying the entirety of the salary. The salary is $100. The United States is paying $100. And so I looked this up before we went live just to make sure I don't spread mis and disinformation. This was renewed under President Trump. U.S. greenlights $95 million in aid for Lebanon's army. It says the U.S. State Department has approved an exception for the transfer of $95 million in military assistance to the Lebanese armed forces, despite U.S. President Donald Trump's ongoing freeze on foreign aid. The Lebanese army has long been the beneficiary of U.S. foreign aid. For example, in January 2023, the U.S. rerouted $72 million in assistance to Lebanon to help pay the salaries of its employees, and thus has maintained a friendly relationship with the United States, even when the rest of Lebanon's government struggled to do so. So that's why it was interesting when you see Lebanon coming out and saying there is no IRGC here. We don't have any IRGC here. And whether or not there's even Hezbollah there is unknown. I mean, obviously they say there's Hezbollah there. We're told by the media that there's Hezbollah operating in Lebanon, but we also know, go ahead.
Wasn't it claimed that the October 7th paragliding terror squads had launched
Trained,
from Lebanon? They trained in Lebanon. Okay.
They trained in Lebanon.
Okay.
That's what we were told.
Yeah,
they totally launched from Gaza, allegedly, and flying go-karts evaded the most sophisticated border in the entire world. Yeah, it
Sure,
make that make sense.
Sure,
But
Jen.
anyways, so it's just kind of interesting, why this attack is happening here. The U.S. is kind of is in contrast to the IDF here in terms of Mossad, Shin Bet, whoever, trying to put Israeli spy networks into Lebanon to root out these IRGC Quds forces and Hezbollah, but the U.S. is stopping it. There's something afoul there, and I'm not casting dispersions at the U.S. or Israel in terms specifically of what's going on there, but something is afoot there.
Well, if I could guess, if the United States is paying the Lebanese military and special police to root out Israeli spies that are operating in Lebanon, Lebanon has said, we don't want terrorism here and we don't want the IRGC here, but the Israelis are using the excuse of IRGC in Lebanon to launch attacks on that country. I would suggest that people should take a look at Mossad's long history of false flag operations, mimicking and aping supposed terrorist groups in nations that they traditionally want to have a reason to go in and attack. You'll probably dismantle that sweater pretty quickly. You'll pull on that thread and the whole thing's going to come apart.
I mean, wasn't there just out there in the open reporting about Mossad's influence in Iran during the protests? Yeah. Just ignore all that. Ignore all that.
Well, and the head of the IRGC just defected to Israel because he was a Mossad spy.
That's man, how that works. It goes on to say Kuwait authorities said that 2 border guards were killed when the Gulf country was hit by a swarm of missiles and drones. Israeli airstrikes killed 8 people in southern Lebanon, according to the Lebanese health ministry. Local media reported that an Israeli drone hit a hotel in Beirut, killing 4 and wounding 10 others. That's on top of at least 47 others killed Saturday in Israeli strikes. Now, on to this.
The Israelis are killing more people in Lebanon than anybody else.
They're reporting we've killed 1,200 in Iran, 47 in Lebanon. I guess they're saying like 11, Israelis have been killed. as a result of these, which is kind of strange when you see all the propaganda on Twitter and X. Yeah.
I don't know what to I don't know what to believe. So many of those videos I see are misattributed from other events, and then also like they're, plenty of them are AI. I just like unless I know somebody who's there who's telling me what's going on, I can't believe any of it.
Yeah, I have some friends I served with in the Marines that are contracting right now, and they've been contracting in Israel for quite some time. And when the 12-day war was going on, they were telling me like, yeah, we're hearing explosions, but it's nothing crazy. We're not getting any reports. Nobody's mobilizing. We're not. It's not what the media is telling us it is. I have not heard from them on this attack yet, and I've reached out, tried to get a hold of them. So I don't know if they're just not able to get messages out, or maybe perhaps they're not there anymore. Maybe I should try again today though, because it's been a few days since I've tried to reach out to them. So. All right, let's jump into this story here. Iranian president apologizes for attacks. President Masoud Pezeshkian apologized Saturday for attacks on, quote, neighboring countries, even as his country's missiles and drones flew toward Gulf Arab states. And hardliners asserted that Tehran's war strategy would not change. Pezeshkian dismissed President Donald Trump's call for Tehran to surrender unconditionally, saying, quote, that's a dream that they should take to their grave. However, they go on to say, and this is something we reported on Friday as well, Pezeshkian's message underlined the limited powers exercised by the theocracy's leaders over the paramilitary Revolutionary Guard, the IRGC. It answered only to Khamenei and appears to be picking its own targets. Pezeshkian's statement said that Iran's leadership council had been in touch with the armed forces and, quote, from now on, they should not attack neighboring countries or fire missiles at them unless we are attacked by those countries. I think we should solve this through diplomacy. Now, President Trump has come out and said, on on Truth and in interviews, unconditional surrender. That's the only thing that we'll accept is unconditional surrender. However, we do know that President Trump, as a transactionalist, as the deal maker, the art of the deal, you aim for the moon and land among the stars, right? You aim high and, aim large, miss small, or aim small, miss small, rather. So when he says unconditional surrender is my only option here, well, that gets us over the line of where we actually set the parameters for our negotiation. And so now we can work on that.
Yeah, that's classic Trump. Look at every other deal he's made, not only in these short 15 months or so that he's been in office, but throughout the entirety of his career.
Yeah. And the other thing is I saw this, because I was kind of unplugged this weekend a little bit, not as much as I would have liked, but I saw a lot of people on X, celebrating this and being like, oh, the president of Iran, says that he's apologizing for the IRGC and all that. Well, yeah, the Pezeshkian has always been, kind of more the moderate in Iran, but he has like no power. He has, yes, he's a president. So we're like, oh, he's the president. He has next to no power. The Ayatollah controls the IRGC. The Ayatollah controls the military. He's basically a ministerial figure at this point. And so it's people were getting a false sense of victory out of him apologizing for that. Yeah. If that makes sense.
I definitely saw it. Yeah. I mean, the financial minister came out last week as well and said that the civilian government was basically not even in contact with the IRGC. They're operating on their own. We don't really know what to do here.
Yeah, that we covered that on Friday, and that is that is kind of fascinating when you look at Iran and what we're told about the Houthis and Hezbollah and all these factions. The IRGC is essentially one of those factions at this point, right? They're a leaderless army. They don't have leaderless military, although we'll get into that story here in a minute. But they're just attacking whoever the hell they want. And this has been one of the most baffling things throughout this whole attack is why Iran is attacking 12, 13 countries at the same time when they can keep this exclusive to to Israel and the United States. And I don't think they have any shot whatsoever at winning this war, but at least do minimal damage. Like bringing all of the Middle Eastern, nations into this is just fundamentally absurd.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make any logical sense. But when you consider what I just told you, that the IRGC was led by a Mossad spy, it makes really, really good sense, because you've got the IRGC attacking all of these nations that had nothing to do with the conflict. But what do they all have in common? Well, they're all enemies of Israel.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough. All right. So speaking of the intelligence aspect to this, last week, we reported that, well, we didn't report. CNN reported that the CIA was totally getting in bed with the Kurds in order to bring a militia group into as kind of the boots on the ground, so to speak, in Iran. And on this show, I can't remember who was my co-host on that day, but I said this would be absolutely stupid. Like, to get involved with the Kurds again. Granted, the Kurds have been, allies in that region and nationless, ethnic group. They don't have a country of their own. However, we've left them behind before. We've left them prematurely and allowed a vacuum where, things like ISIS and everything else were able to rise up in place of it. This would be fundamentally stupid for the CIA to be running this operation there. Well, now we've got this from the AP. President Trump says he has ruled out having Kurds join the war, even though Kurdish fighters in the region are willing to assist in efforts to topple the Iranian government. Quote, the war is complicated enough without having the Kurds involved, Trump told reporters. We could read on. Days ago, Kurdish officials told the AP that Kurdish Iranian dissident groups based in northern Iraq were preparing for a potential cross-border military operation in Iran, and that the U.S. had asked Iraqi Kurds to support them. The U.S. and Israel have targeted Iran's military capabilities, leadership, and nuclear program. And we can end there. It's just going to do the rehash there. So there it is. Another CIA propaganda point put out there and shot down.
Well, yeah. I mean, I saw multiple statements from within the Kurdish. It's not really a government, is it? I mean, they don't have a nation. I mean, it's just a group of people who I would be totally fine with giving those guys their own country. I mean, they were split up when they split up the Middle East, and their culture and their religion is completely different from anything else that you've got there. But they said, hey, we love the Americans. We love America. But we've also been burned multiple times in the past, okay? Like, how many times have you guys told us to rise up? How many times have you told us that you were going to support us? And then how many times did you leave us to just be slaughtered by an overwhelming force from a number of different governments? So thanks, but no thanks. You're not going to use us like a tool in a war that, we didn't start.
Yeah, they have like I don't know his official role, but they have a leader that is a representative that speaks for them and, does the press conferences with the flags behind them and all that stuff. And he was saying, hey, we're ready to go in if we so choose. But the Iranians would never, in my opinion, I mean, I'm not anywhere near an expert on Iran at all, but I mean, the Kurds only represent a small, like, teens proportion. I think it was like 13 or 14% of Iranians are Kurdish. That would never fly. Like, no. You're not going to have an uprising. You're not going to have a militia group come in and, a Kurdish group overthrow, a faction of Persians. That just is not going to happen. So, I just wanted to show that because, I mean, we were talking last week, the CIA getting involved in this. The CIA, first off, announcing that they're going to use Kurds. Like, where is it? This goes back to Venezuela. Remember when the CIA was like, oh yeah, we're gonna totally bomb the drug cartels on the beaches of Venezuela, and we're like, since when does the CIA announce these things? President Trump announced that the CIA is going to be conducting operations in Venezuela. Just none of it's making sense right now. Everything's kind of bass actions.
That sounds like a series of sophisticated psyops to me, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, it is unusual for those things to be announced, but just because they're announced doesn't mean that it's going to go down in the way that they were publicly announced.
All right. So last thing we've got on Iran here, we've got two stories that are tales of competing factions, competing narratives, whatever you'd like to call it. From The Guardian, Al-Khamenei's son, Mojtaba, is chosen as Iran's new supreme leader.
Now, is he still alive? Because I've seen so many reports that he was killed like immediately.
So this was put up 2 hours ago, I think. This was breaking news at 5:07. So this is relatively new. Now, again, I'm with you. President Trump said very quickly, let's see how long that lasts.
Right.
So maybe he is no longer with us. I don't know. But Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the late Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has been chosen as his successor after members of the clerical body responsible for selecting Iran's highest authority announced the decision on Sunday. Iranian institutions and politicians, from the foreign ministry to lawmakers, issued statements expressing their allegiance. Quote, "We will obey the commander-in-chief until the last drop of our blood," a statement from the Defense Council said. Donald Trump has already acknowledged that Mojtaba Khamenei was the most likely successor and has made clear he considered him a quote-unquote unacceptable choice. The U.S. president said earlier on Sunday that Iran's next supreme leader was, quote, "not going to last long," end quote, if Tehran did not get his approval first. When asked about the appointment during an interview, Trump was reported as saying, "We'll see what happens." Now, this is also interesting to me for a couple of reasons. One, Trump obviously said Mojtaba is not going to be the successor. But if you look at Maduro and what took place in Venezuela, now I believe Venezuela is distinctly different in that Maduro was extracted from Venezuela rather than assassinated or killed, whatever, the way that Khamenei was killed in Iran. And then again, going back to what Ghost said, was Khamenei dead for months now, right? Because I think Ghost said he was on hospice like 2 months ago.
He's been on dialysis, I think, for the longest time. Yeah. At least on the verge of death, if not already long gone.
Right. So that brings up, has he been dead? And if you look at Venezuela and Maduro's removal, now Delcy Rodriguez as the vice president there's no difference there. It's the same, essentially, administration. Could there have been some fundamental differences between Maduro and Rodriguez? Sure. He's been with him forever. So I don't know. But when you look at Iran with Khamenei in there, is it the same, kind of idea there? Like, with Mojtaba being right below Ali as his son, is this going to be something that we end up I don't want to say accepting, but is this part of the plan? I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think that ultimately probably not, because the sticking point since 1979 has been the presence of the mullahs, has been the Islamic Republic of Iran. So they want to get rid of that government and reinstitute something closer to what they had before. I mean, if they could go back to being a democratic republic like they were under Mossadegh, I think that would be the best possible scenario. But, like all of the Iranians that seem to be here in the United States are Iranian dissidents that were expelled when the Islamic Revolution happened, which were people who supported the Shah. Now, the Shah had his own problems. I mean, he was an authoritarian leader that was propped up by the Central Intelligence Agency until he got a little too big for his britches and started talking about Israel as well. And then they had to get rid of him, and they brought in the mullahs. So, yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. The blueprint seems to be the same, but it's also the same kind of blueprint that you see in authoritarian nations around the world, right? I mean, the people who lead tend to have an insular circle of people that they trust, and oftentimes it's the children. I mean, it's the bloodlines. They love the bloodlines. I mean, you can have all kinds of people around you kissing your ass and telling you that you're brilliant and everything that you're doing is exactly what's good for the country, but the only people that you can truly trust are generally the people that you made, your children.
So that's interesting because, you invoked Mossadegh and Pahlavi in this, and Pahlavi, well, I think this is Reza. This is the son, right?
Reza Pahlavi. Yes.
So Pahlavi is saying something counter to what they're saying about Mojtaba, and that he has been chosen as the leader of Iran. So we're going to have that dueling, the dueling narratives here. Who's going to be the one that prevails? Do either prevail? So we'll play this real quick.
Before the revolution, Iran worked closely with Arab leaders from King Faisal to Sheikh Zayed to King Hussein to President Sadat. In Oman, my father helped Sultan Qaboos defend his country against insurgency. We were true partners then. We will be true partners again. The Iranian people have called on me to lead the transition after the regime is gone. I have accepted that responsibility. Part of their great mandate to me is to return our nation and our foreign relations to normalcy. I will do exactly that.
So a couple things that are interesting here, and this is, people may not understand. So Iran, you talk about 1979, right? And the Islamic regime, the Islamic Republic rising up in Iran. Prior to that, you had Pahlavi, but going back to 1953, where you had the CIA overthrow of Mossadegh, it was a whole different Iran back then. You bring in the Shah, like you said, it was fairly a prosperous Iran until the Islamic Republic kicks in. They start, the Israel and all that stuff. And then there was, it wasn't as open a coup as 1953, but.
Oh, no, there was elections. I mean, yeah. But here's the thing is that after so many years under the Shah, people, it was a repressive regime. Okay. It was a repressive regime that was kept in power because of the relationship with the CIA. And the Iranian people were disillusioned with the Shah. The Ayatollah said, we're going to bring democracy back. It's going to be a wonderful thing. And then as soon as he was ushered in, it was like, boom, guess what, bitches? Yeah, everybody better put on a burqa or whatever it might be.
So, again, I think there is a lot of similarity here to Venezuela, where Pahlavi would be the, kind of Hakuna Matata, the Maria Corina Machado.
I was going to say the same thing.
Of Iran. Yeah. He comes out, he addresses the people of Iran, or he addresses in that address there in English. He is Western educated. I think he was educated in London, I believe. It's a very interesting dynamic there. And, the reason I said is Khomeini, Mojtaba Khomeini going to stay in power is because that would follow the same kind of playbook that we watched in Venezuela.
Sure. Definitely. And, Pahlavi says that he's accepted this call, but I too got shades of Maria Corina Machado as well, because the United States hasn't come forward and says, this is our guy. That would be the deep state play, I think. There we go. We get a known quantity back in there. Somebody that, hey, Pahlavi was good for when he was good, but let's obviously have an honest conversation about what's been happening for the last 47 years, even if through the introduction of an even more repressive regime, there were still plenty of assets that were in play to make it a situation that was usable for the deep state. They still were able to profit massively off the presence of the Islamic Republic.
So just on a whim, Zach, I went and looked up, has Reza Pahlavi received any award similar to a Nobel Peace Prize? He was honored with the Richard Nixon Foundation's Architect of Peace Award in October of 2024, recognizing his advocacy for peace and democratic values. So he doesn't get a Nobel Prize. But it's online with Machado.
Yeah,
it's online with that. All right, so
there's still time for 2025. You never know, the year's not over. Oh, I'm sorry. I know it's 2026 now.
Hopefully, by the time we get around to the 2026 Nobel paperweight, hopefully by then this war is long gone and we've got some sort of stability in that region, because I'm not wanting to see this go on forever. But before we move on, we're going to hit a sponsor real quick. But before we move on, anything that I missed on Iran that you want to put out there?
No, I had nothing else. I think we did it. We did it good.
It's such a freaking, it's a clusterfuck, man. Like that. It's the fog of war, and this whole thing is just insane, and you don't know what's true and what's not true, and all you can do is just kind of hash it out and put the stuff out there and see how it goes. That's all we can do, you know. I will say this though, you know, going up, because I was in the Villages, that's where my mom lives, and hearing from, you know, some of the people up there, the conversations and, you know, things like that, the stuff that's being said about the war is very interesting. You know, a lot of people are on board with we don't want another forever war, but we had to do this. We've been at war with Iran for 47 years and all of that. And it's just, I was kind of taken aback, man, but you know, it is what it is. Go ahead. You want
I mean, Iran's been probably the number one boogeyman for a really long time, and especially since the fall of the Iron Curtain. You know, I mean, like everything switched over to terrorism. Basically, we had a couple of good years where there really wasn't any place to focus, even though there was still unrest coming out of the Middle East. There was the need. There was a need to hoist someone up there to be able to say, you know, this is who the next bad guys are going to be.
So, I saw Miss Rise Attire in the chat bring this up, and I figure we might as well play it. Hold on, let me see if we got you know what? Before we play this video, let's go ahead and hit our sponsor, and then we'll play this video to kind of outro. The White House put this out over the weekend, and yeah, there we go. Everybody, anytime you mention the Villages in the chat or on the show, it goes to that. You know, capital of a certain 3-letter
the STD capital of America.
Goes there every single time. All right, guys.
I have a funny Villages story.
Oh, well, all right. Well, we can definitely entertain that when we get back. But let's real quick, guys, they can freeze your accounts and shut off your cards. They can lock you out of your own money overnight. Banks do not protect you. They control you. And that's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold. This isn't an IOU. It is real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tethered Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet, peer-to-peer and outside the banking system. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. The wallet is yours forever. All right. What's your story real quick?
Okay. So my mom's friend was taking her dad, who's, you know, obviously an older gentleman, but he's like I want to say he's like 90 or close to 90. And she was taking him to the Villages, I think, to look at the possibility of getting him a place there. And she like set him down on a bench outside of the office. And she goes inside, and while her dad's out there, some woman, like a younger woman, still a retiree, but a younger woman, comes up and sits with him and starts chatting him up, and then just asks him if he wants a blowjob. And he was like, oh, sweetie, I don't think I could even get it up. Anyways, so my mom's friend comes out, and he's like, you're never going to believe what just happened.
We should have prefaced that with language warning. We do have some
sorry, guys.
young ears. Come on, man. You couldn't have used the two. No, but that is like the crazy story. I have never. I mean, I've visited many times up there. We've gone to the square and, you know, gone to like the dance things that they do and all that, and never seen anything like that. But then again, I'm also probably 20 years younger than the lower age bracket up there. But
just for the record, I've never been to the Villages either.
It's such a cool place, though. It is such a badass place. I really do. Like, everything is meticulously landscaped. There's golf courses everywhere. You just drive your golf cart up to the course, and they're like, you got a tee time? No. And they're like, go ahead, go out there and play. And it's like $10. $10 to play like meticulously maintained courses. It's unbelievable. It really is. All right, let's keep going. I did want to play. Here's the White House video. So we'll play this video, and here we go.
Wake up, Daddy son.
Welcome home, son.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
What will you do without freedom?
Mavericks inbound.
You can't conceive of what I'm capable of. Finishing this fight. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
I am the danger.
Yep.
Time to find out. Maximum effort. Finish it. Here it comes. Now end this.
Flawless victory.
That's wild. That is wild.
Yeah, I wasn't very impressed by that.
Why not? I mean, the meme, they've got meme makers running the official White House account.
I mean, I understand that, you know, we started off the show. Well, we started off the show in Maricopa, but we started off the show with the 7th guy that's been, you know, service member that's been killed in this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me personally, since, you know, I was a subject of a forever war. Not saying this one is yet, but I'm not going to just ignore the possibility that it could become that. Not that I don't think it will. I think that we've seen over the last, you know, especially this past weekend, the exit ramp already in view.
Sure.
But, you know, it's still, I get it. I get it. A lot of people love it. I just don't. That's all.
I mean, so you interpreted that to me explicitly only about whatever's happening in Iran.
Not, yeah. I mean, most of the imagery they put in there was related to that. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. See, I guess I see that and I interpret it in sort of the larger context of what the Trump administration is doing. I mean, you know, not only that, but a number of other missions that are taking place at the same time, because you know, I mean, this is one small part, and I understand the idea of a forever war, but I think, you know, we talked about this last week, and you know, I truly interpret the lens of what's happening in Iran as a part of the larger operation to take down the deep state, which is a global operation. Okay. And once the threat of a, you know, aggressive Iran no longer exists, then it creates an opportunity for a much longer lasting peace, something that will bring stability and economic cooperation to the region in a way that didn't exist before.
Fair. I mean, look, that's just, again, this is my personal take, and I can already see the chat freaking out. Well, unless you've gone and fought for your country, killed for your country, and watched your best friends die for the country in a bullshit war, you don't have an opinion. Your opinion means nothing to me. You have an opinion. You do have an opinion, and you can express that, but it means nothing to me. I just thought it was tasteless. That's all. Is it the worst thing in the world? No. Is it something that I even gave a second thought to? No. The only reason I played it is because Miss Attire was like, play it. I actually jumped in on the Ben Stiller thing. You know, Ben Stiller, like, oh, I don't give you permission to use that. And I was like, you don't have that right. It's fair use, dude.
Right.
White House can do whatever they want with that. They have every right to do it. I wouldn't have done it, but I get it. I get it. It's fine. In your context, though, Zach, it's a little bit more entertaining.
Palatable.
Yeah, palatable. There you go. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into the next story up here. And this one's a fun one. Did you see this story over the weekend, Zach? Epstein prison guard Googled him minutes before body found and made mysterious deposit before the pedophile's suicide.
Yeah, multiple thousands of dollar deposits into her account, which, as far as I'm aware, are completely unexplained to this day. Yeah.
Let's get into, here we go. All right. One of Jeffrey Epstein's prison guards Googled the sex predator minutes before he was found dead.
I thought she was sleeping.
And also made a mysterious $5,000 cash deposit 10 days before the predator's jail cell suicide, according to DOJ documents. Tova Noel was one of the 2 Metropolitan Correction Center workers accused of falsifying records to say that they checked on Epstein throughout the night before his August 10th suicide. The guards were fired, but criminal charges, of course, were later dropped. Noel Googled, quote, latest on Epstein in jail at 5:42 a.m., and then again at 5:52 a.m., less than 40 minutes before her colleagues found Jeffrey Epstein dead in his cell by hanging at 6:30 a.m. That is peculiar timing to just randomly at 5:45 in the morning. Let me just see what's the latest on Jeffrey Epstein. That is bizarre.
Yeah.
The FBI highlighted the eerie internet search in its 66-page forensic examination of the Bureau of Prisons' desktop computers. Quote, I don't remember doing that, she claimed, said FBI records were not accurate. I don't recall looking him up. It goes on to say that Chase Bank flagged cash deposits in Noel's bank account in a, quote, suspicious activity report to the FBI in November 2019. Another file from the DOJ revealed a total of 12 deposits began in April of 2018, the bank said, and culminated in the largest deposit for $5,000 on July 30th, 2019. Does it say? Yeah. The files only contain Noel's bank records beginning in December of 2018. They show 7 cash deposits totaling $11,880. Noel started working at the special housing unit where Epstein had been held beginning in July of 2019. So that's interesting. She wasn't there before, but she was receiving interesting deposits long before that.
Yeah.
Noel drove a $62,000 2019 Range Rover, wasn't asked about cash during her DOJ interview. That's bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, I am a big fan of Range Rovers. So I guess
not so much the modern iterations. I don't care for the modern Land Rovers or Range Rovers, but I do like the classics.
I think they're very cool looking cars. I don't think I would ever own one, but anyways, so $62,000, I guess it could have been like the smaller, like the Velar or the Evoque or something like that, but still $62,000 for a BOP, guard, is a little strange. Should have definitely been something that raised red flags and was investigated, unless, of course, it deliberately wasn't investigated. Noel was likely the mysterious orange shape spotted in blurry surveillance video, according to DOJ files and FBI briefing, but she says that she absolutely was not. Noel says she last saw Epstein alive, quote, somewhere around after 10, and that she, quote, never gave out linen ever or other clothing to inmates because that is done on the shift before. She testified she didn't know why Epstein had extra linen in his cell. The other guards on duty were sleeping between 10 and midnight. A prison employee entering the area of Epstein's cell alone would have been a policy violation. At this point in time, Zach, I mean, I would think it's more likely than not that he's still alive, that he was extracted from there.
I agree.
So in addition to this, what else have we found out? We found out that there were 2 vehicles. There was a decoy vehicle that removed his body before the one that the coroner, whatever. What else do we know? We know that the federal prosecutors were talking to his attorneys a couple weeks before, that took place. Obviously the autopsy report, very strange. Some of the, muscles and the bones in his neck and all that. Anything I'm missing?
Well, he was given multiple unmonitored phone calls. First of all, to Karina Shuliak, who he said was his mother, and then another call to Belarus, if I'm not mistaken.
Fascinating.
Yes.
Fascinating. We got another story here. Daily Mail. DOJ files reveal FBI's plan to probe if close friend David Copperfield, and Epstein shared a predilection for minors and swap possible victims. The big takeaway here is that David Copperfield is now no longer going to be performing in Vegas. He is canceling his residency after the fallout from this investigation.
Well, and on the eve of this article coming out as well.
Yes. It says agents claimed, quote, weak bureau brass were intimidated by Copperfield and his financial resources and said they were too much to handle, and the probe was eventually called off for those and other reasons. Now, just think about that for a second, Zach. when a lot of people are clamoring for arrest and Epstein and blah, 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 and this and that and everything else. If David Copperfield intimidated the FBI and the DOJ into withdrawing from this investigation, what do you think the billionaires were able to do in all of this?
Oh, sure. Yeah. But I can tell you who the FBI is not intimidated by. The guy making $55,000 a year, scraping by to make sure that his family is taken care of and his kids have new shoes for school. Definitely not intimidated by people like that.
Yeah. It's a great point, man.
Sick.
The DOJ's files reveal how serious the investigation into Copperfield was and how close he was to the pedophile. Their ties were so close that the FBI referred to the illusionist as his favorite cohort. Now Copperfield announced that he is quitting his long-running residency at the MGM Grand. His final performance will be on April 30th. The documents that were revealed indicated that Copperfield had a, quote, very close relationship with Epstein and trained his staff to pull young women from the audience at his shows to bring them backstage, where he kept a notebook of those he had sex with. But after concern from quote unquote higher ups, as one law enforcement official put it, the investigation did not lead to charges.
For my next trick, I will make this investigation disappear.
I mean, I've often said, like, Vegas is one of my favorite places in the country. I love Las Vegas. There's something about like the lights and everything else, and just the city that never sleeps. I love it. But the last time I was in Vegas, I think I was at the New York Cirque du Soleil show, and there was a comedian that came out, and he was making they do like comedians between like the acts while they're setting everything up. And this comedian came out. I don't even remember his name, but he was making very provocative sexual jokes at a girl that was in the front row. And at one point he asked, like, who are those people with you? And she's like, my parents. He's like, how old are you? And I think she said either 15 or 16.
Oh, God.
He kept the jokes going.
Oh, my God.
And that's like, I was this close to walking out of the show at that point, but the comedian is just like a filler. It's not the show itself. But yeah, that's the perversion of, a lot of these people out there. And I don't know, that just popped in my head. So I figured I'd share that right there. All right, let's jump into, we got some updates on the SAVE Act. And by updates, I just mean the narrative that's being thrown out on this. Attorney General Ken Paxton, who's going to a runoff, allegedly. Nobody's backed out yet. Nobody's blinked yet. Paxton says on X, I made Cornyn more conservative in the last 3 days than he has been in the last 24 years, yet flip-flop Cornyn's still too cowardly to support abolishing the filibuster to get it done and to call out his best friend McConnell for opposing the bill. The president deserves better. And this was in response to Matthew Boyle putting out on X that Cornyn's been on the record against it for months. President Trump, on the kind of flip side of this, says great job by Scott Pressler on Fox and Friends talking about the filibuster, or the talking filibuster, in order to pass the Save America Act, an 88% issue with all voters. It must be done immediately. It supersedes everything else, must go to the front of the line. I, as president, will not sign other bills until this is passed, and not the watered down version. Go for the gold. It must show voter ID, proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots except for military, illness, disability, and travel. No men and women's sports, no transgender mutilization for children. Do not fail. President Donald J. Trump. And then last, before we jump into some comments on this, Chuck Schumer says in response to President Trump, the SAVE Act is Jim Crow 2.0. What else is new for Schumer to be saying that? It would disenfranchise tens of millions of people. If Trump was saying he won't sign any bills until the SAVE Act is passed, then so be it. There will be total gridlock in the Senate. Senate Democrats will not will not pass the SAVE Act under any circumstances. What's your take on this? Me and Chris, me and Ash, we've all talked about it. What's your take on this?
On the passing the Save America Act? I mean, I think it's one necessary step in a series of many steps that need to be taken to ultimately secure our elections. I think that there is a strong possibility that this is not going to go anywhere in the Senate. And really all President Trump is doing is highlighting the hypocrisy that is present in the Senate. I mean, we have Republicans without balls, or we have Republicans that are complicit with Democrats who want to ensure that people who are not American citizens continue to be able to vote in elections. Now, President Trump could pass a executive order mandating a number of things, and he wouldn't need to use the legislature. But that's something that could easily be undone in a future administration. If it is done legislatively, then it's on the books and it's much harder to get past it or to unravel, get rid of it in the future. I ultimately think it's probably going to come down to that, or it's going to come down to Cornyn making the deal to get the talking filibuster used to pass the SAVE Act, which will then lead to President Trump endorsing John Cornyn. Now, in order for that endorsement to have an effect on Ken Paxton, the SAVE Act has to actually pass. If they're unsuccessful, and then Ken Paxton, I think, is going to remain in the race. President Trump will still have to pass an executive order. And then when the new Senate comes in, maybe it's the first thing they'll go ahead and take up. But yeah, I mean, it's disgusting to me. I mean, it's this, they're using America. They're holding America hostage in order to ensure their own political futures are secured in Washington, D.C. And even after securing their own political futures, there's no guarantee that they would do anything that the American people want. It's really, I think ultimately it's just highlighting how disgusting Washington politics are, how selfish these people are.
I'm with you. I agree. So we've gotten a whole bunch of different opinions, and Chris and I talked about it on Friday. And you know, I understand where Chris is coming from, that the SAVE Act is not going to change anything on a broad scale, or, you know, even so. Chris is like an absolutist with the elections. It's all or nothing. Either the elections are 100%, and I agree that they have to be 100%, you know, free and fair.
Yeah, me too.
But you have to do that in steps. There's no one remedy that's going to instantly go from these elections are totally fake to boom, snap the fingers, and now they're completely real. Nothing I've ever seen put out there can get to that point. But you have a lot of things out there that when you start putting them together, the SAVE Act, the MEGA, Make Elections Great Again, even though I think there's been some changes to that since I reported on it last April. But originally it was going to get rid of the machines, go to marked, hand counted paper ballots, and it's got potential, you know, to go that route. I did see something recently that I think they're saying that the BMD's physical paper ballot is being counted as I'm going off on a tangent here. The bottom line is I do think there is a lot of good things in the SAVE Act that are going to make it more difficult to cheat and more likely that they're caught in the process of doing so.
Yes.
So I do think that the SAVE Act is something that we do need to get across the finish line. But like Chris was saying on Friday, you can't look at that as, hey, we passed the SAVE Act, everything's free and fair now, everything's fine, election integrity, go home, because that's not the case whatsoever. And if you go in with that mindset, we're really screwed. I do think Trump's going to endorse Cornyn in the coming days. I think there is going to be a talking filibuster in order to get Cornyn's endorsement, or Trump's endorsement of Cornyn. And I do think, I'm hoping that we're going to see that. I'm not going to say I think that, but I'm hoping that that's what we see.
Yeah, like I said, this is just one step in a series of steps that need to be taken if we are ultimately going to secure elections. But it's not the end all be all. It's not the end of the race.
All right, so this is probably another story. I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this one at all beforehand, but I don't know if you're familiar with this at all. From Fox News, tech company at odds with Pentagon warns that its AI possibly gained consciousness. Elon Musk, two-word response. Anthropic leader Dario Amodei claimed in an interview that he isn't sure if his company's AI models have gained consciousness. Quote, Anthropic CEO says Claude may or may not have gained consciousness as the model has begun showing symptoms of anxiety, read a post on X by Polymarket, to which Elon Musk replied, he's projecting. Amodei, when asked about the AI and consciousness, said, quote, we've taken a generally precautionary approach here, and we don't know if the models are conscious. We are not even sure that we know what it would mean for a model to be conscious or whether a model can be conscious, but we're open to the idea that it could be. He says there are activations that light up in the models that we see as being associated with the concept of anxiety or something like that. When characters experience anxiety in the text, and then when the model itself is in a situation that a human might associate with anxiety, that same anxiety neuron shows up. So a lot of veiled language in that statement right there. He says there are activations. We see these as being anxiety, meaning we can see them as however we want. We can say whatever we want as long as we qualify that by saying this is our opinion on this. The fact that they wouldn't know what consciousness looks like in these AI models is a little bit concerning. But before I get into the doom, and I'm sure you've seen this story, what's your take on all that?
Yeah, I don't think they're conscious. I think that you got a bunch of panty wastes that are programming Claude. So, I mean, its anxiety response is going to be a symptom of the people who are programming it to behave in a certain way. So, no, I don't think that it's conscious at all.
Well, let's play this clip here, and I think this is the right clip. This is scientists at Cortical Labs took a bunch of human brain cells and taught it to play Doom, or just it played Doom on its own. Okay, so let me read what it says here. It says scientists put human brain cells in a petri dish, just neurons on a chip. It learned to play Doom in under a week. 800,000 neurons figured out how to navigate, shoot, and survive a video game without ever being alive. Your brain has 86 billion neurons, and you can't even finish a
Oh, that's cold.
Savage. Savage.
Oh, that's funny.
Keep it up, guys. Keep trying to play God. Keep trying to play God. That is pretty interesting, though. Like, yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know.
Oh no, I mean, no, they've been doing this for a while. They've been culturing human brain cells and essentially making these very low powered chips, which can then be farmed out for inference in, AI models and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, it's just instead of using like a traditional silicon wafer, they're using these living human brain cells to process the information. And you can rent that stuff out right now, just like you can rent GPU space for AI models.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah, it is nuts.
That is so scary. All right. Let's jump into this story here. CNBC, U.S. judge voids 2025 actions taken by Kari Lake as Voice of America CEO. It says that U.S. District Judge Royce Lambert has granted a summary judgment in favor of plaintiffs who argued that Lake's appointments as acting CEO and actions she took in that role ran afoul of the Federal Vacancies Reform Act and the Constitution's Appointments Clause. Lambert ruled that Lake was ineligible to serve as acting CEO because she was not employed by USAGM when former CEO Amanda Bennett resigned in January of 2025 and had not been confirmed by the Senate to any other federal post. Lake officially joined USAGM in March as a senior advisor. A November 21st news release from the agency called her the deputy CEO. This marks at least the third time that Lambert has ruled against the Trump administration in cases involving the Voice of America. The judge in April and September halted plans that would have put many Voice of America employees out of work, although the April ruling was later overturned by an appellate court. Now, again, this is, USAGM, Voice of America. This is the propaganda arm of the CIA. This is their, go out there and orchestrate these color revolutions, the funding that gets, funneled down through USAID and other, organizations. USAGM is nothing more than a puppet for that. The idea that Kari Lake is again, I think this is going to be overturned very quickly at an appeals court. The idea that the president can't appoint somebody unless they're already in that particular agency, can't appoint them to lead that, is fundamentally absurd.
Yeah.
It is the epitome of, prolonging the deep state's grasp on a lot of these institutions by saying the only way to lead this organization is to rise up through its ranks. Absurd, man. Absolutely
Totally absurd. Yeah. Yeah. Royce Lamberth needs to retire, or they need to retire him.
Yeah. So that brings me to this post here put out by Andrew Colvette. The newly released body cam footage from the March 2025 Doge raid on the U.S. Institute of Peace. Again, anytime you see a misnomer like that, the Institute of Peace, automatically assume it's the opposite of what it says. Shows the insane resistance that Trump faced from day one. Edward Korstein, a.k.a. Big Balls, told Jesse Waters last year this was the least peaceful of all the agencies to deal with, and that it used taxpayer funds for private jets, an armory filled with weapons, and contracts with former members of the Taliban. The Institute of Peace, an armory filled with weapons, and the Taliban? These are grown adults in full meltdown mode because they realized the gravy train was coming to an end. They referred to lawful orders as jackbooted police state actions while refusing to vacate the premises after President Donald Trump issued an order firing them and sending in his Doge team to clean house. What you see in the video isn't democracy. It's an insight into how wild and entitled the DC swamp has grown. Even the officers who were on scene to ensure order became impatient after realizing the defiant bureaucrats weren't even Institute of Peace employees when one said, quote, "We're their lawyers," who were trying to regain access to, quote unquote, classified information pertaining to other cases outside the USIP's purview. George Foote, one of the lawyers there, even pushed to have Trump officials arrested as unauthorized intruders, and it goes on from there. The video is very concerning, very interesting to see the amount of pushback that President Trump has gotten at these. But, the fundamental message that I got out of this, Zach, is that the corruption within the bureaucracy in our country is, there isn't even we need better people leading it, put in fresh blood. The whole thing has to be just drained, just burned to the ground. I don't even want to see it rebuilt, but I know they're going to try and rebuild it. It's fucked beyond army. It's FUBAR.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the bureaucratic state is the deep state. Unelected employees of various agencies and companies with varying levels of federal funding coming in, and these people have nearly unchecked power.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna end the show on this article right here. Boom. Let's have some fun with this one from the AP. Armageddon. Remember that movie, Armageddon?
Oh, yes.
Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler, Ben Affleck. Who else was in that? A lot of Owen Wilson. There was a lot of people in that movie.
Yeah. It was an event tentpole.
Yeah. Spacecraft's impact changed asteroid's orbit around the sun in a Save the Earth test. This article makes me a little more concerned than it does relieved. I mean, you got, what was the movie, Greenland?
Yes.
Greenland came out with this. I mean, we had Armageddon back in the 90s, Deep Impact in the 90s. What other movies have we had about asteroids hitting Earth?
Those are the only ones that I know. I mean, Deep Impact and Armageddon were like, they came out at the exact same time. It was like the studios were racing to get their asteroid movie out first.
Yeah, it reminds me of what was the Gerard Butler Olympus Has Fallen and the other White House Down. Yeah. Remember those? Like the same exact story going out at the same time. Similar there. So the AP put this out, says an asteroid that NASA used for target practice a few years ago was nudged into a slightly different route around the sun, finding that could help divert a future incoming killer space rock. Scientists reported on Friday. For the first time, it's the first time that a celestial body's orbit around the sun was deliberately changed. The asteroid that NASA's DART spacecraft slammed into was never a threat to Earth until now. Oops, slight miscalculation. Now it's coming right at us. Quote, this study marks a notable step forward in our ability to prevent future asteroid impacts on Earth. According to the international research team, the changes were slight reductions of just 1/10 of a second and 1/2 of a mile to a solar lap spanning 2 years and hundreds of millions of miles, according to the scientists. Well, it's good to know, Zach. If there's ever a meteor or an asteroid coming straight for Earth, we can now deflect it. There was a TV show about the same thing.
Oh, was there?
Yes. What the hell was that TV show? This guy, they went to MIT and they're like, there's a meteor that's going to hit the Earth, or an asteroid that's going to hit the Earth in like 3 months.
Don't look. There was a movie called Don't Look Up.
No, that was the Leo DiCaprio one. This was a movie where like the guy had to like invent a pulse. Well, Three Body Problem has a similar case, right?
I've never seen it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. Everybody tells me I should have just never done it.
You have got to watch that.
Okay. Yeah.
Dude, this is like a theme in Hollywood, man. There's like a ton of movies now that I think about it. Three Body Problem, Don't Look Up, Greenland, obviously Armageddon, Deep Impact. Like maybe we should pay a little more attention to this, or are they just trying to, I don't know.
Seeding the consciousness, I think.
I can't even, somebody's got to know the name of this show because it was actually a really good show and they never followed it. It's not the right stuff.
I am going to see Project Hail Mary. I saw somebody mention that in the chat. That looks pretty good.
All right. Well, I don't see it in here. So PJ Corrigan, things that never happened for 500, Alex. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. All right, guys. Let's see. Do we have any rants? I think we had a couple come in. So there we go. Jump over here. Artsy Joan. Thanks, guys. Great Monday show with Zach. God bless.
Thank you, Joan.
Good to see you as always. Arwood 79. This has been a forever war since we overthrew it for oil companies in 1953 for British Petroleum and the British Empire, and again in 1979 for the same reason.
Of sorts.
Yeah.
Forever conflict. I wouldn't know if I'd say forever war, but certainly. We've also got a couple of gold pills over on Pilled. Oh. Who cares? Says Mullins just said Ashley's shooting was justified on J6. He actually, I don't know if he just said it, but that was a long time ago. And then Who Cares also says DHS was only supposed to be a department that helped cross-agency data transfers, not an overlord.
All right.
You are not going to hear an argument from me that DHS probably shouldn't exist as an agency.
Sparky said Pilled ended.
Oh, really? I'm looking at it and appears to be going right now.
Yeah. I do know what Pilled is, EC, just not I don't really use it that much. So no mention of Jesse Jackson. You know, the Jesse Jackson funeral, Obama came out, was railing on Trump, and then Jesse Jackson's son came out and was like, don't make this political. And that's the gist of it. I mean, we talked about it when he passed away, and I just don't feel like covering a politicized funeral. I think that's disgusting, first and foremost. And second, you know, it's all going to be just slights on Trump and MAGA and everything else. And like, who cares? Trump was closer with Jesse Jackson than Obama ever was.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Matt Trump says solar system orbits are fundamentally chaotic in a dynamical sense. We cannot know stability of orbits over the long term. Well, I'm going to defer to Matthew Trump because he's the physicist here. All right. Anybody, anything else you got, Zach?
I got nothing.
All right,
Looking
guys.
forward to the week.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. We got Y-Chromes coming up here in about an hour and a half, and followed by Alphas Make Sandwiches. Then, of course, we will have Zach will be on Baseless Conspiracies tonight.
That's right. And Josh is going to be joining me because John is out of town.
Yeah. Josh, you'll have to tell me after what you're going to talk about. I know you don't announce it ahead of time, but I got some. I can get the insider baseball. So he doesn't even tell me, guys. He doesn't even tell me. So, all right, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in again. Stay tuned for Alphas Make Sandwiches coming up, and we will see you guys later.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.